Where chargeable income exceeds $5,000 but does not exceed $10,000, the average tax paid is $1,168 a year. Such an average taxpayer, if he or she were a lawyer, would be at number 15 in the batting order. Where chargeable income exceeds $10,000, does not exceed $30,000, the average tax paid for the year by such a person under $30,000 is $4,111. If such a person were a lawyer, they would be at number 13 in the batting order. Now, Mr. Speaker, I'm a practical man of affairs. I don't expect that the taxman is going to get the lawyer down to the final penny. It has never been like that, and I don't think I will see a world in which that is the case. But frankly, these own account professionals are making it a scandal and causing the income tax department to inquire, to go behind these things and reveal what is taking place. Mr. Speaker, I don't get involved in personal tax business. But as Minister of Finance, I'm interested naturally in tax policy and the administration, and tax administration. I can't tell you the names attached to these numbers. I don't know, and I'm not interested in knowing. Similarly, something comes to my attention, purely by the way, that a man is ordinarily resident here and has in Anguilla a contract for a period of time of $10,000 a month, tax-free in Anguilla. He's supposed to pay taxes on it here, you know. He doesn't pay any taxes on it. It's not my business to go and tell the tax authorities whether he's a waterman, whether he's an engineer, whether he's a chef, whether he's a mason. It doesn't matter. So, Mr. Speaker, I really would have liked to have seen some discussion by the honorable members on the opposition on the revenue measures. It means, therefore, an appropriation bill, Mr. Speaker, is about how the money is appropriated, how the taxes are raised to pay for the expenditure inside of the estimates of expenditure. That's what this debate should be about. And there's a gaping hole. This is why I say the opposition, they're not serious people. There was no adult conversation on this presentation on their side. Frankly speaking, for the 17 years I've been here, is the worst that I have ever heard any opposition. Certainly, since I'm Prime Minister, is the worst that I've heard any opposition. When they had three of them, they appeared to have been doing better. And by far, Mr. Speaker, the worst speech that I've heard in this Honorable House in 17 years was the one delivered in this budget debate by the Honorable Member for South Leeward. It was indescribably bad. You may say, who am I? Are you a professor to give grades? No, I'm not a professor to give grades. But I have been a professor. And I have been in the habit of giving grades. And I have given that grade from the position of being here for 17 years. The Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Speaker, makes basically the same speech every year. he has become, frankly speaking, the caricature of an economist. A caricature. We get he's full of superficial comments, and he has some prefabricated insults and put-downs. They're a narrow repertoire, and they're repeated annually. Like, for instance, Humpty Dumpty. I don't know whether he has read Alice in Wonderland, Lewis Carroll's famous novel. But he doesn't, I don't think he has. Because if he has, you'd recall the conversation between Alice and Humpty Dumpty. Yeah, I know you could wind up your finger as much as you want. You know, just keep your hands off the item there. Because given your proclivities, you might throw it. You know, I prefer you do a finger that than put your hand on top of that. Because you may think it's a stone. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Leader of the Opposition stylizes facts in search of a theory of explanation. He provides no conceptual or strategic framework. He's very wrong-headed about facts. He utters a lot of falsehoods on facts, and I will give those here today. And as always, he offers no solutions or no credible solutions. He continues to make the mistake in thinking that economic analysis is a recitation of statistics, devoid of history, context, and text. Further, Mr. Speaker, he postures with a narrow view of economics as merely the aggregate of a series of technical functions, abstract, unreal, and disconnected from real flesh and blood people in their multiple connections. He doesn't seem to understand the nature of the post-colonial society and economy which we have. Size, limited resources, buffeted by the ill winds of globalization and the challenges of nature and the workings of the contemporary world economy. When I hear someone like Senator Leacock, who is a graduate of the University of the West Indies, said that in my budget speech I mentioned Thomas 7 times or 9 times. He apparently went through and did the check, the counting. Mr. Speaker, Thomas is a major disaster. It affected people's livelihoods in a real way. From the forest to the seacoast, the plantations, banana fields, houses, roads, everything. It has cost a lot of money thus far to address Thomas. And still, we have a lot more expenditure to lay out this year on Thomas. And insofar as the forests are concerned, where there's a damage of $31 million to be repaired, and the seacoast, which we have yet to fully get the dollar value, the dollar cost of the damage, because we are working with the World Bank with that, and the river defenses. It is a major constraint on how we are proceeding, and it is an important question which had to be considered in this budget. So for a university graduate, a gentleman of mature years, to say, why you have to mention Thomas like that? Clearly, they are not ready for an adult conversation. They're so accustomed to going on Lynch program, on a nice radio, unchallenged about anything, and we get the worst of them. The worst. And one would think that when they come to the house, there'd be some kind of metamorphosis, some kind of a change. No, it is too deeply ingrained. The superficiality, the tendency towards falsehood, all of that continues. And what is driving them more than anything is a thirst, a hunger for political power. To come here, to come over here and sit down. I tell you, Mr. Speaker, I told my family that I would like to leave in 2015. But if that is what is there as the alternative, I have to rethink my position in the interest of the nation. You see what I mean? You're not even following logically. If I see the writing on the wall, I would like to leave. But the fact that I am staying, considering staying, is an indication that I have to save the country from what is over there. So it's not a writing on the wall. A writing. You think you're going to get close like this next time? You're in dreamland. You're in dreamland. Mr. Speaker, a budget is not merely a numbers exercise. It is an encapsulation fundamentally of a country's frame of governance and the frame for development, captured in target numbers within a specified time period. The budget is not simply an economistic tomb based on a traditional fiscal formula grounded in the Washington consensus of the IMF and the World Bank. The budget for me and this government embraces other disciplines. It embraces economics, but importantly, it has to embrace sociology and philosophy, history, political economy, an enlarged view of economics and fiscal possibilities, and yes, theology, belief systems, existential ideas. And from all these considerations, we have emerging a creative imagination applied to the reality of our condition, and that is how solutions arise. Mr. Speaker, the context of this budget among other things was laid out in the introduction to my budget speech. The global meltdown and its consequences, the regional challenges in banking and insurance, Hurricane Thomas, and the performance of our economy. And Mr. Speaker, we had yesterday, and I urge the Honorable Senator Batiste, whose writings I read, but find difficult to do so on an ongoing basis now because they're in one narrow vortex. But I always like to see young people getting involved and writing. It's something which I look at and say, even though I disagree with the person, let me see how she's coming along. And one of the things I would advise her seriously, as I did in the estimates debate, please do not take as gospel matters on economics and fiscal matters, what you hear from the leader of the opposition. You'd be led astray. Please.